for the Unity Project 1 Sprite Mover. And as you can see, I have my sprite displayed here in the center of the map. And the sprite was created by me. And if I were to go to the code, I have a input.getKeyDown for the Q button, escape button, space button, P button, and for the arrow keys with the left shifts. And with the arrow keys and the left shift, that is actually working under a AND operator. And that's where input.getKey comes along, because that's placed after a OR operator. So as you can see over here, I have OR, and then I have input.getKey for the arrow keys and the left shift. And if I were to scroll back up, over here you can see that I have a line of code that essentially states the horizontal movement vector and also allows you to move the sprite left or right. And then this line of code states the vertical movement vector and also allows you to move up or down. And if I were to go back to Unity and scroll down on the sprite, you can see that you can actually adjust the speed of the sprite to whatever number I guess you really want. And if I were to go back to the code and scroll back down here where the arrow keys and left shift are, so all this code essentially states that if the left shift and any one of the arrow keys are pressed at the same time, which you are now able to do, it would also make it so you can move one unit left, right, up, or down. And if I were to scroll back up, you can see that there is the input.getKeyDown, which is for the P. And if you press the P button on your keyboard, it would essentially pause the game. And if you press it again, it would depause the game, if that's a word. And let's see. If you were, scroll up a little more. Over here you have the input.getKeyDown for the Q, which essentially deactivates the game object. It freezes it and makes it so its default speed is at 0, and it really can't be changed whatsoever. Once Q was pressed, it is, I guess, quote unquote, broken, I guess, for the game sprite. And then if I scroll a bit down over here, the input.getKeyDown for the escape button. So this line of code makes it so once you press the escape button on your keyboard, it will make it so you just exit out of the application instead of going through a menu or whatever, or putting your mouse cursor to the red circle or the X to close the application. If all you have to do now is just to press the escape button, and it automatically just closes the application. And when it comes to bugs, there isn't really any bugs or errors. Everything here worked as intended. You can move left or right. You can move up or down. You can use the Q button on the keyboard, the escape button on the keyboard, the space button, the P button on the keyboard. And you can use the left shift and any one of the arrow keys to move a unit up, down, left, or right. And let's see the comments. So yeah, the comments. As the comment states, every comment above the line of code essentially describes what that line of code is. So for example, I have a line of code here that states, this line of code allows the user to move the sprite left or right. And the code, which is what describes the line of code below it, which is what it's intended to do. So there's comments for every line of code or block of code, or up here, there's comments here to describe what I suppose every variable, such as the float or the boolean, is, and to make it so the script recognizes that there is a rigid body 2D. And to project organization, as you can see here, I have my project, I suppose, as organized as possible. I have a folder for music over here, which actually contains royalty-free music. I have a folder for scenes that actually contains the boundary, and it also contains the star layers, which are star layer 1 and star layer 2. And as I stated, those are under the scenes folder. And then the script folder has the script that actually makes the sprite move. And then the sprite folder has the sprite itself. And if I were to actually display it through an actual application, it would look like this. So as I stated before, music does play, and it is royalty-free music, and I have given credit to the composer under the source tree. So as stated before, you can move up or down through the arrow keys, or W or S. You can move left or right through the arrow keys, or A to go left and D to go right. And if I were to pause the game, it pauses the game. And if I were to press the space button, it resets the sprite to the original position, which are the coordinates 0, 0, 0. And with the left shift and the arrow key, so if I press the left shift and one of the arrow keys at the same time, each arrow key is designed for a specific direction. So if I press left shift and the up arrow key, I move 1 unit up. Same goes for the right arrow key, down arrow key, and left arrow key, if the left shift is also pressed at the same time. Or, both together. And for the Q, this essentially, quote-unquote, breaks the game, as the sprite cannot move. It is essentially just broken. You can put it back to its original position, but you have no control over the sprite whatsoever. It's broken. And to try out the escape button, once I press the escape button, it just escapes you from the application. And that is all for the project video.